On the day I was supposed to get married to Adrien, I specifically took a day off, but when I arrived at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I made 10 phone calls, and no one answered. I patiently made the last call, and it was a woman's voice. "Selena, it's Ella. Adrien is handling my hospitalization. What do you need from him?" "Are you Ella?" I scoffed inwardly. "Adrien, you really are something. This is the woman you're going to accompany for surgery?" "Yeah, sorry, Selena, Adrien delayed your wedding photos for me." The tone of the bitch made me feel sick. I scoffed. "It doesn't matter, we're broken up anyway, he's yours now. By the way, tell him that the shit outside smells sweet." "Selena, you." I didn't continue to listen to that disgusting voice of the jerk and sent a text to Adrien. "Adrien, we're done, the wedding is off, let's break up." This time, Adrien quickly replied, "Selena, can you be a little more obedient? Ella really needs the surgery, let's talk about the marriage certificate when I get back." What else is there to say? I cursed inwardly, put away my phone, and prepared to leave this place. As soon as I turned around, I saw Jason. He was Adrien's good brother, and their relationship was often good and bad, though I didn't know why. "Jason? What are you doing here? Coming to get married?" I remember he did have a girlfriend, but it was a lukewarm relationship. A different emotion flickered in Jason's eyes as he said in a low voice, "He still hasn't arrived on time?" I shrugged my shoulders and said, "It doesn't matter, we broke up." Jason's expression shifted slightly, and he said, "Since that's the case, Selena, why don't we get married? We know each other well, and I have no other women outside. Once we marry, you will be the only mistress of the Shin family." I was taken aback, seemingly not expecting Jason to say that, but he is indeed more composed than Adrien, and his family background is no worse than Adrien's. Thinking of Adrien's attitude just now, I smiled slightly and said, "All right." Jason seemed surprised that I agreed so quickly, uncertainty in his eyes. "You, agreed?" "Yeah, Jason, you are the person who treats me better than anyone else except Adrien. To be honest, you're even better looking than him. It's just that in the past, I only had eyes for Adrien. Now that I look back, I realize I was blind." Hearing my words, Jason's eyes gradually changed color, and he excitedly took my hand and pulled me into the Civil Affairs Bureau. Half an hour later, I held the red marriage certificate in my hand, and for a moment, I was dazed. Is this really it? Getting the certificate? With my ex-boyfriend's good friend? "Jason, I have no bad habits, and I won't keep a woman outside after having you." I looked into those serious eyes at that moment, and something flashed through my mind. "Jason, I believe in you." I have always felt that Jason is the most reliable one among Adrien's brothers, and I don't know why, but that feeling is particularly strong. Jason took the wedding photo from my hands and said with a smile, "This, I'll keep for you, Selena. 3 days, I'll give you just 3 days to sort things out. After 3 days, I'll come to pick you up and you can move in with me." Okay. In fact, I wanted to say that 3 days isn't necessary. I'm not living with that dog of a man, I have my own place. Back in my small apartment, I threw away everything related to Adrien, including the various gifts he had given me. Finally, sitting on the bed, holding my phone, I smiled bitterly, deleted everything between him and me, and ultimately blocked him. Then I put the apartment online for sale, sold it directly, tidied up my own things, and threw away what I didn't want or need. Finally, I took a shower in the bathroom and lay on the bed, reminiscing about the moments when I met Adrien, finding it all quite amusing. How should I put it? I've known Adrien for 5 years, and my brother is dating his sister. One time my brother took me out to eat, and we ran into Lucy. My brother introduced us to each other, and Lucy really liked me. She treated me like a sister, bringing me many gifts and fun things every time she went on a business trip. The following year, she introduced me to Adrien. "Adrien, from now on, Selena will be my future sister-in-law. You better treat her well. If I find out you bully her, I won't let you off." "I understand, sis. Don't worry, it's only her who bullies me." Since then, Adrien and I became a couple. I remember what my brother said at the time. He said, "Selena, don't get too deep, he still needs to evaluate things." At that time, I only felt that my brother was overthinking. He was Lucy's younger brother, how could he dare to have any other thoughts? My brother still wasn't at ease, so he bought me an apartment outside and forbade me from living with Adrien. This was his biggest concession. "I also know my brother is doing it for me," I agreed, but Adrien somewhat disagreed. I said, Adrien, if you really like me, then respect my decision. Girls are always precious, and some people, once they have them, won't cherish them. He said, I won't, Selena, I am very devoted. It was because of this sentence that I believed him for 5 years. Until last month, when Lucy asked Adrien and me to go get the marriage certificate, a strange text message arrived for me. You must be Selena, right? You've been with Adrien for 5 years and still haven't gotten married. Want to know why? I furrowed my brows and replied, who are you? If you want to know, let's meet at Ella Cafe. I originally didn't plan to go, but I wanted to know who this person was and what their relationship with Adrien was. The next morning, after freshening up, applying light makeup, and changing into a purple dress, she drove to the cafe for her appointment. When I arrived at Ella Cafe, I looked around and was just about to send a message on my phone when I saw a woman waving at me. She wore a beautiful white dress, the kind that made her look petite and charming, a woman who inspired affection. I slowly walked to her table and sat down across from her, watching as she smiled and had the waiter set down a cup of latte for me. Hello Selena, I am Ella. I arranged to meet you today just to confirm one thing. Hearing the name Ella, my pupils suddenly constricted, and I instantly understood the purpose of her invitation. Adrien's taboo in his heart, Ella is his first love, also something that others cannot mention. Countless times, after getting drunk, these 3 words are on his lips. I took a deep breath to regain my composure. Do you want to return to Adrien's side? She seemed taken aback by my direct question, her eyes filled with surprise. You know me? Fortunate to know. I knew he hadn't forgotten me, Ella said, her smile unwavering. What do you want to say? Selena, he doesn't love you, he only sees you as my substitute. Now that I'm back, it's time for you to step aside. Don't you find it ridiculous? Back then, you left without hesitation, and now you come back with such confidence. This makes me think you have some ulterior motive for getting close to him. Selena, no matter what you say, he loves me. I got up and said lightly, then let him come and say this to me. We slept together. Hearing this, my expression changed slightly, and I no longer paid attention to Ella, I simply left. As I reached the door, I paused, looking up at the words Ella Cafe, and all I felt was irony. That day, I had a big fight with Adrien. Adrien, do you know that we are getting married next month? Adrien wondered, I know, what's wrong? What happened to Ella? Adrien's expression changed, did you go find her? At that moment, all my fantasies shattered, and I said coldly, so you really are back together with her? She is all alone with no one to take care of her. We are friends, so what's wrong with helping? He said with conviction. Friend? Adrien, can friends sleep together? What's nonsense, I have nothing with her. Do you think I would believe you? I ask you, why did you agree to be with me back then, for your sister's sake? I like you, what else could it be for? I really haven't reconciled with her. I promised to marry you, so I will definitely marry you. That day he coaxed me for a long time, saying many tender words. I believed him because I truly loved him. But, on the day they got the marriage certificate, he was actually with that woman. On such an important day, he wasn't there. I lay in bed and called my brother, but it took a long time for him to answer. Selena, what's wrong? Hearing my brother's voice a bit out of breath, I hope I'm not bothering him. I hesitated for a moment but still spoke the truth. Brother, I broke up with Adrien. It seemed like someone was talking over there, but I couldn't hear clearly. Brother? Are you listening? A long time ago, a deep voice came from that side. Why? I want to speak but hesitate. Isn't Lucy by your side? Yes. My brother did not hide it either. Then I'll come to find you tomorrow and talk to you in detail, okay? Alright, I'll have the driver pick you up. Remember, you are my sister Damien, and no one is allowed to bully you. I hung up the phone and sent Jason a message. Jason, tomorrow I will come clean to my brother. If my brother contacts you, just say that I forced you into it. Idiot, how can you let a woman bear this? Since you are my wife now, I should take this on. Seeing this, my cheeks flushed slightly. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Good night. Good night, wife. After a good night's sleep, I opened my eyes, and it was already 8 o'clock. I had my brother ask Lucy for a day off since I work at her design company. It was already past 8:30 when everything was tidied up, and the driver was waiting. "Miss, the young master asked me to take you for breakfast." I nodded slightly, intending to sit in the back seat, when suddenly someone grabbed me, and my expression changed slightly. Before I could say anything, I heard a frantic voice behind me. "Selena, you actually blocked me?" Hearing that voice, it was Adrien. I didn't want to pay him any attention, but damn it, he was gripping my wrist so hard it hurt. "Let go." My voice suddenly turned cold. Adrien really let go, his voice low. "Why did you block me?" I turned around to face him, my eyes no longer holding the love they once had. "Adrien, is it interesting?" "Selena, you want to get the certificate," I said. "It's fine, let's talk about it when I come back." "Ella is having surgery alone without anyone to sign, can't you be a little more obedient?" "I am very well behaved, I won't cry or make a fuss, so you can rest assured, I will never disturb your life with her in the future." Adrien's face darkened. "If you want to get a marriage certificate, we can go today." I glanced at the woman behind him and sneered. "Are you taking her with you? Did you two get a marriage certificate or did I?" A tear slipped from the corner of Ella's eye as she softly said, "I'm sorry, Selena, I have delayed the important matter between you and Adrien." I gave her a sarcastic glance and said, "Can I stab you once and then say I'm sorry?" "Selena. What's wrong? Are you feeling hurt?" "Adrien, you make me sick." After saying that, I was about to leave, but Adrien grabbed my arm and wouldn't let go. I stepped hard on his foot. "Bastard, let me go, you're hurting me." Adrien's face darkened. "Selena, what do you mean? Explain it to me clearly." I was just about to speak when I saw a black Maybach stop in front of me. Jason got out of the driver's seat and, seeing me frown, said in a low voice, "You hurt her." Adrien was a bit surprised to see Jason. "Jason, what are you doing here?" "Of course, it's to pick me up," I said directly, feeling angry. Adrien's face was dark and terrifying. "Selena. Say that again." Seeing this, Jason grabbed Adrien's arm, and only then did he let go of me. Jason directly shielded me behind him. At that moment, Adrien seemed to understand something. His gaze was sharp. "Jason, you are my brother. You should know that Selena is my woman." Jason, unlike his usual gentle self, said coldly, "If it weren't for the fact that I've been recovering from my injuries, you wouldn't have had a chance at all." "What do you mean?" Even I was stunned in place. I never expected Jason to say something like that, leaving me a bit bewildered. Jason said, 5 years ago, when I first met her, she saved me and got me to the hospital. I once said that if I could survive, I would definitely marry her." Adrien's expression changed slightly. "Are you saying that the girl you once mentioned is Selena?" "That's right, but after I recover from my injuries and we meet again, she will already be your girlfriend." Seeing her smile, I can only keep these feelings buried in my heart. The images in my mind suddenly became clear. It turned out he was. No wonder those eyes looked so familiar, it was him. "But Selena is my woman now. Do you know that?" Jason sneered. "Outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, you made her wait for you for several hours. Where were you?" Adrien also knew he was in the wrong. "I owe Selena an apology for this, but you shouldn't take advantage of someone in a vulnerable position." I stood in front of Jason and said to Adrien calmly, "He didn't take advantage of the situation, it was my request. Adrien, you should be happy. I won't interfere with you and your first love anymore." A hint of a smile flickered in Jason's eyes as he pulled me behind him, facing Adrien. His gaze darkened. "We are brothers, don't make it too ugly, Adrien. It is you who has wronged her, not the other way around." "Jason, are you going to disregard the bond between us brothers?" "I'm sorry, she is now my wife. Between a brother and a wife, I choose my wife." As soon as the words fell, Adrien threw a punch, which Jason dodged. "Jason, who is your wife? You better not be talking nonsense." I was just about to go up and mediate when I saw Jason strike first. His punches were fast, accurate, and fierce. One punch landed squarely on Adrien's face, prompting Ella to exclaim, "Adrien." Adrien was also furious, and the two of them started fighting directly, their punches fierce, each strike seeming to drain all their strength. The air around them seemed to freeze, with only their heavy breaths and the dull sound of fists colliding intertwining, breaking the momentary silence. I stood anxiously to the side, wanting to dissuade but not knowing how to begin. Ella was even more frightened, her face pale, her hands tightly twisting the hem of her clothes, her eyes reddening, yet she dared not take a step forward. "Stop." I finally couldn't hold back and shouted, my voice trembling slightly. Jason and Adrien's movements paused slightly, but only for a moment, before they were entangled in each other once again. Jason's gaze was icy, and Adrien was even more furious. Don't do this. I rushed forward, wanting to pull them apart, but Jason yanked me back behind him. He turned his back to me, his voice low, Selena, this is between him and me, you don't need to get involved. Adrien took advantage of the moment Jason was distracted and landed a punch to his abdomen. Jason staggered, and Selena supported him. I shouted sternly, enough. She finally couldn't hold back any longer, crying as she rushed forward and pulled Adrien away. Adrien, don't hit him anymore, please stop. Adrien seemed to hear nothing. In his eyes, there was only Jason, once a good brother, now his rival in love. Adrien, I'm saying this one last time, we're done. Do you see this? This is my marriage certificate. I married Jason, and he is now my husband. Do you understand? I pulled out the red marriage certificate from my bag for him to see. Adrien's eyes were fixed on the marriage certificate, gritting his teeth as he said, Selena, why? I said coldly, Ella came to me and said she slept with you. I didn't believe her. She said the gifts she gave me were the same as hers, and I didn't believe that either. But when she said I was her substitute, I started to doubt. Adrien, I had someone follow you, you went to a hotel with her, and at that moment, I believed everything she said. That day at the Civil Affairs Bureau was my last chance for myself and for you, and it was you who gave up on me. Adrien looked pale as he turned to Ella, who weakly said, Adrien, no. Please listen to me. I helped Jason into the car and let the driver go first. Just before getting in, I said, Adrien, this is where it ends. You don't love me, so please don't disturb my life anymore. As soon as I got in the car, Jason stepped on the gas and drove away. Selena. Jason seemed to have something to say. I looked at his profile and said softly, why didn't you tell me before? Jason's grip on the steering wheel tightened. I originally just wanted you to be happy, but he disappoints you every time. So that day you secretly followed me to the Civil Affairs Bureau because you knew he wouldn't go? He answered cautiously, yes. I leaned against the passenger seat, closed my eyes, and the scene of saving him that year played in my mind. That night, Jason was severely injured. Coincidentally, I was feeling peckish and went out to buy some food, and I just happened to run into him in his injured state. That night I couldn't see his face clearly, he had already passed out. I couldn't move him by myself, so I had to call 120. When we arrived at the hospital, I paid for his surgery. The next day, when he opened his eyes, the first thing he said to me was, thank you. Once I'm better, I will definitely marry you. I thought he was just joking at the time, because when we met again later, I couldn't remember what he looked like. I only knew he was Adrien's brother, and I was Adrien's girlfriend. When I opened my eyes again, I regained my composure and looked up at him. Jason, did you marry me to repay a debt? Who knew? He stepped on the brake, and the car instantly pulled over and stopped by the roadside. He turned to the side, slowly leaning closer to me, his breath drawing nearer and nearer. Suddenly, he lowered his head and kissed my lips. I widened my eyes, wanting to push him away, but my hand was tightly held by him. After a long time, he finally let go of me, looked into my eyes, and said seriously, do you understand now? It's not about gratitude, it's about liking you. I like you, Selena. My face is burning, and I can feel that it must be very red right now. Let's go, I want to visit my brother, let's go meet him together. I was afraid that if I continued like this, I would feel embarrassed, so I urged him to drive. He smiled and said nothing more, continuing to drive. Half an hour later, we arrived at my brother's building. Jason originally didn't plan to go up, but I pulled him along and said, what are you afraid of? Now you have every right to be here. Jason smiled, and that smile was heart-stopping. This guy was really quite good-looking. When I got upstairs, I rang the doorbell, and Lucy opened the door. She was happy to see me and greeted, Selena, huh? Jason? What are you doing here too? Lucy. Seeing Jason beside me, Lucy was still surprised, and when she saw our intertwined hands, her expression changed slightly. At this moment, my brother also came out. His hair was a bit wet, probably because he had just washed it and it wasn't dry yet. Come in. When I arrived in the living room, my brother had prepared my favorite food, soup dumplings, and pumpkin porridge. Seeing Jason, his eyes changed, and he said lightly, "Let's eat together." When we all sat down, my brother said nothing, asked nothing, he just told me to eat more. I'm a bit anxious, brother. Food is not to be spoken of, sleep is not to be discussed. Until breakfast was over, my brother called me to the study. "Speak, what's going on?" I saw my brother, and I still felt wronged in my heart. The more I thought about it, the more wronged I felt, and just like that, tears began to fall one by one. My brother panicked instantly, grabbing a tissue and awkwardly wiping my tears. "Why are you crying? Who bullied you? Tell me, and I'll help you get back at them." I threw myself into his arms, and he gently patted my back, comforting me. "Silly girl, it's just a breakup. At worst, I'll find you someone better." I cried for a long time before I finally pulled away from my brother's embrace. I wiped away my tears and choked out, "Adrien lied to me. He's with another woman. He didn't show up at the Civil Affairs Bureau on the day we were supposed to meet, and today he brought that woman to see me." My brother's expression changed suddenly, and his voice took on a hint of coldness. "Does he have someone outside?" I nodded slightly and continued, "That day he didn't come, so I got a marriage certificate with Jason." My voice grew quieter, and I didn't dare to look at my brother's face. I was afraid he would be angry. It wasn't until a sigh came from above my head that I dared to look up. His eyes were filled with tenderness. "Why are you so impulsive?" I tugged at the corner of his shirt and said sweetly, "Brother, I've already gotten the marriage certificate with Jason, so please don't make it difficult for him. No, he is indeed better than Adrien, because the Shin family's parents have always valued loyalty above all." We stayed in the study for a long time until Jason knocked on the door. My brother opened the door and saw Jason looking at me with concern. He saw that my eyes were red, and his expression changed slightly. He pulled me behind him, faced my brother, and said very seriously, "Damien, it was me who made Selena get the marriage certificate with me. It's all my fault, don't blame her." My brother raised an eyebrow. "Jason, with Selena, you can't have anyone else, and you mustn't make the most fatal mistake a man can make." Hearing this, Jason's eyes lit up. "You agreed?" "I don't agree, okay? You all tore up the evidence." Lucy was in shock. My brother stepped over us and walked up to Lucy. For the first time, his tone sounded deep and cold. "Lucy, I only have this one sister. No matter who it is, no one can bully her, including Adrien." Lucy was taken aback, seemingly not expecting my brother to say something so cold. She asked tremulously, "Damien, what do you mean by that? Did Adrien bully Selena?" My brother likes Lucy, and it's well known that he can't approach her. He just slammed his fist against the wall, and blood instantly flowed from his hand. I exclaimed, "Brother! Damien!" Lucy also shouted in fright. My brother's face was dark, and there was a hint of coldness in his voice. "He can argue with Selena, have little squabbles, and I won't say anything, but he keeps a mistress outside, betraying Selena. Lucy, you know what I hate the most." I know what my brother meant. After my dad had me, he kept a woman outside. My mom couldn't stand it and had a big fight with my dad, and in a moment of rage, my dad killed my mom. Later, my brother directly sent my dad to prison, so all along, he has been protecting me very well. Lucy stiffened, murmuring, "Selena, is what your brother said true?" I couldn't bear to tell her that Lucy had always been very good to me. "Tell me, is it or not?" Lucy growled. Jason said in a deep voice, "On the day they were supposed to get their marriage certificate, he left Selena behind to be with his first love, Ella, leaving Selena waiting alone outside the Civil Affairs Bureau for more than 2 hours. She called him 10 times, and in the end, it was Ella who answered. Selena, is it? Lucy. I'm sorry. I can't accept him being with other women and still marrying me. Lucy smiled bitterly. How could it be your fault? It's clearly him, Adrien, who is unworthy of you. I have something to attend to, so I'll be leaving now. As Lucy picked up her coat, preparing to leave, my brother called out in a deep voice, Lucy. Lucy paused her steps. Damien, let me calm down. Since that day, I haven't seen Lucy much, because I left her company. My brother said not a word about Lucy. The next day, I was taken into his private villa by Jason. Looking at the arrangement of the room, I felt a surge of surprise. Everything here was styled according to my preferences, and everything in the bedroom was to my liking. When I was with Adrien, it was always me accommodating him. He never took the time to understand my preferences so carefully. So, whether a person loves you or not can be seen in the details. Do you like it? Jason's deep voice in that moment made my heart race. Like. My heart raced like a drumbeat, each word leaping from my chest, filled with uncontainable joy. Selena. Thank you for coming into my world. His voice was so gentle it seemed to drip with water, softly touching the strings of my heart. Such a gentle voice made my body tremble. I raised my gaze to him and saw my reflection in his eyes, like the brightest stars in the night sky, shimmering with endless light and deep affection. Those eyes, deep and warm, seemed to see through all my thoughts, embracing all my fragility and unease. Before I could even speak, I saw him lower his head and kiss me. His lips were soft and warm, carrying an irresistible force that drowned all my words in this passionate kiss. I closed my eyes, immersed in this kiss, feeling the love and warmth he conveyed, as if the whole world consisted of just the two of us. His kiss was lingering and passionate, like a gentle rain nourishing my parched heart. After a long while, he slowly released me, resting his forehead against mine, his breath slightly quickened. Selena, you are mine, and only mine. His voice carried a hint of dominance, but more so, it was filled with deep affection and promise. I nodded gently. Jason, thank you for letting me step into your world. He smiled gently, his smile like the sunlight of a spring day, warm and bright. He took my hand and placed it on his chest, where it was beating fiercely. Can you feel it? This heart beats only for you. Jason. He lifted me up around the waist and gently placed me on the bed, his gaze intense and fervent, his voice hoarse and deep. Selena, my wife, let's make up for our wedding night. I instantly felt my cheeks flush with embarrassment. Over the past month, I could sense that Jason truly cared for me. He knew exactly what I liked to eat, what my hobbies were, what I enjoyed doing, and what I didn't like. I suddenly understood my brother's words, the Shin family has always valued loyalty above all else. I looked up at him and gently nodded. Honey, be gentle. Jason's eyes suddenly lit up, followed by immense surprise. Selena. That night, he was restless for a long time, and I could only rest very late. I vaguely remember him excitedly saying, Selena, you actually. What? I'm so sleepy, I don't want to open my eyes. It's okay, you sleep. After saying that, he helped me take a shower, dried me off, and changed me into my pajamas. It wasn't until the next day that I realized it was the splash of bright red on the sheets that had excited him so much. 2 months later. Over the years, I rarely found the time to spare, so when I had nothing to do, I would just stay at home and paint. Jason seems to be very busy at the company these days, coming back very late. But no matter how late it was, he would always bring back a bouquet of flowers for me, each day different from the last. It's already 7 o'clock tonight, and he hasn't come back yet. I'm feeling uneasy, so I'm getting ready to give him a call. As soon as I took out my phone, I saw his message. Wife, I had the driver pick you up. Change into the clothes he gave you, I like seeing you wear them. I was puzzled and replied to him, is there something wrong? Be good and listen, change your clothes, and have the driver bring you here. I'll be waiting for you at the BY restaurant. Madam, the sir asked me to give this to you and to take you to a place. The driver had arrived, handing me a large square box. I frowned and still went upstairs to change, but the moment I opened the box, my body trembled. This is a wedding dress? I was so excited that I didn't know what to say. I trembled as I sent him a message. Why? Do you like it? You are my wife. What others have, my wife should have too, and what others don't have, my wife should have even more. Seeing this sentence, I squatted down and cried, how could he be so good to me? How could he care about me so much? A long, long time later, I finally changed into this wedding dress, put on my makeup, and went down the stairs. The driver had been waiting for a long time. After getting into the car, I looked out at the scenery and felt particularly lucky at that moment, lucky that I had agreed to his request that day. Arriving at BY restaurant, I got out of the car, and the driver left. The restaurant was shrouded in darkness, and I couldn't see anything. I called Jason. Jason, where are you? Baby, come in, walk in slowly. I slowly walked into the restaurant, and as soon as I entered, all the lights in the restaurant instantly lit up. I exclaimed, oh my God. The lobby on the first floor was filled with heart-shaped balloons, colorful ribbons, and even a banner that made me gasp and cover my mouth. The dazzling words on the banner made me shed tears of excitement. Selena, I love you. Will you marry me? At this moment, my heart seems to be surrounded by thousands of butterflies, dancing gracefully, so happy that it feels like I might overflow. I stood there, my gaze fixed tightly on that heartfelt confession, tears blurred my vision, yet I couldn't bear to look away. At that moment, a gentle piano piece began to play softly, the melody melodious and romantic, just like the love between us, pure and beautiful. I followed the sound and saw Jason descending slowly from the second floor in a pristine white suit, each step seeming to tread on starlight, elegant and solemn. His gaze was as gentle as water, as if it could melt all the frost in the world. At this moment, there was only me in his eyes. My heart raced, almost leaping out of my chest, my hands unconsciously clenched tight, my nails digging deep into my palms, yet I felt no pain at all. I watched him approach step by step, tears once again blurring my vision, and this time, it was from emotion and joy. Finally, Jason stood before me, the steadfast light shimmering in his deep-set eyes, as if at that moment, he had made the most important decision of his life. He slowly knelt on one knee, pulling out a dazzling ring from his pocket. The diamond on the ring sparkled with brilliant light under the lamp, just like the love in his eyes, bright and fervent. He said softly, "Selena, I love you. Will you marry me?" His voice was gentle and sincere, each word seemed to come from the depths of his heart, filled with deep emotion. I looked at him, and a sense of indescribable happiness surged within me. I trembled with my hands, tears sliding down my cheeks, dripping onto the floor, making a faint sound. I nodded slightly, my voice choked, "I am willing." Applause erupted all around, and some people began to cheer. "Jason, please kiss your bride, haha. Jason, hurry up and kiss your sister-in-law." It turned out that these were all good friends of Jason. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of my brother. He was standing directly in front of me, looking at me with eyes full of satisfaction. I later found out that after Lucy left that day, my brother personally went to find Adrien, gave him a beating, and warned him not to come near me again or disturb my life. So since then, I haven't seen Adrien. I heard that Adrien and Ella had a falling out, and he went abroad by himself. These are no longer the things I need to worry about, my world now revolves around Jason. As for my brother, he and Lucy didn't break up because of Adrien. After all, they had loved each other for so many years. How could they let this matter cause a rift between them? Everyone was making a fuss, and I smiled, tilting my head to kiss Jason's sexy thin lips. Jason was more surprised. This was the first time I had taken the initiative to kiss him. For a long time after we parted, I leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Honey. Thank you for loving me so much. And in the future, I will love you well." Jason buried his head in my neck and whispered softly, "Selena, it was all worth it. I got my wish." A year later, I gave birth to my daughter with Jason, Bailey, and it was then that I learned that the BY restaurant was opened by Jason for me. On this day, Jason was holding Bailey while I carried things to the hospital. Lucy had given birth to a son for my brother. In the corridor, we ran into Adrien, who seemed colder than before. Seeing me, his gaze shifted, and he said in a low voice, "Selena, long time no see." Over time, I have come to terms with it, and I smiled slightly as I greeted him, "Adrien, long time no see." Since then, I have not seen Adrien again. Jason loves me as always, just like that saying goes, the Shin family values loyalty and commitment.